Hi, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times, here for an endorsement interview with two of the three candidates, I should say, on the Democratic side for Lake County Assessor. We have Mike Troxell, Jerome Prince. Also with us is Robert Blaskowitz, Assistant Managing Editor and a fellow member of the Editorial Board. We should probably begin with the obvious question. What are your qualifications and why are two-part question. What are your qualifications and why are you running for this office? Mike?
Sure. My qualifications for this office are, I'm using my 30 years of banking experience in the private industry to bring to this office. During that time, I've oversaw the operations of a branch in Schererville and did some residential and commercial lending. And I was a security officer over there and handled many of the deposits for our customers over the years. And we grew that branch quite well in Schererville. We're one of the largest depositories in Schererville. So I want to take the skills I've acquired over the 30 years into this position, along with my skills and as elected official in Schererville. In Schererville, I have been elected 4 terms, and I'm in my 15th year and current president of the council. And with that, the duties of elected official in the municipality are to make sure you provide the services to the residents and make sure also that you have a balanced budget to work with and to provide quality of life items to the residents. So I'll bring those skills along with my education in business studies at IUN and Purdue Cal, along with the Indiana Association of Assessing Officers credentials of level 3, which are now required for the position. So taking those qualifications over the years with customers at the bank, handling when they're making their tax payments and so forth, they would obviously question, man, my taxes are too high. Mike, can you help me out? And basically reviewing what their assessed values were, I try to explain to them what was going on with their taxes and basically the value of their property. And then explain to them the tax rate is what actually generates their tax bill from that municipality. So with that, and in the public sector with the town of Schererville, basically many times people would question, how come paying so many taxes? What's being paid here in Schererville? What's going there? So basically, I would take that information, explain to them that on how the process works regarding their assessed valuation of property. So with that, and my family had some challenges with some property values and their tax bills. So looking into that, I basically felt that it's a natural to go in. I know Mr. Adams had passed away, but I didn't feel that he was going to continue running again. And so with that, I knew it was an open seat on the Democratic side. So I went forward to sign up for the position.
Okay, Jerome?
Thank you. First of all, let me thank you both for providing this opportunity for both candidates to sit next to each other and to discuss the particulars as it relates to that office. But to answer your question, my qualifications range from a wide array of qualifications, I guess, to put it simply, starting with my positions held in city government, certainly as county council person, but more specifically as it relates to the office of assessor, and those are the ones that I'm proud to speak of today. I have 20 years of experience in property valuation as it relates to specifically assessment purposes or property valuation for assessment purposes, having worked as a real estate deputy before in one of the local township offices or tax assessor's offices, having taught residential assessments for the DLGF for a couple sessions at the past conferences in the summer. I too have received the level 3, which is, as Mike suggested, required by the Department of Local Government Finance as well as the IAAO. But the experience and the qualifications that specifically relate to the office, I think, go beyond the achieving of the certification. Just to kind of give you a little more background, in 1998, I was first certified as a level 2 assessor appraiser, and at that time I was one of only 3 persons to hold the certification in that particular office, and we've maintained that certification since then. It wasn't until 2012 when the state saw it necessary to increase the certifications, and I believe the common trend there was that there was a lack of knowledge or skill set that existed in not only county government but in all of the township offices. In fact, to date, there's only 23 people who maintain a level 3 certification necessary to hold the office of assessor. So I say all that to say, whereas receiving a certification certainly is a great start, from my perspective, I don't think anything can trump the experience that's necessary. I've also served as the assessment chairman from the county council perspective, which has given me the opportunity to not only work with the existing township assessors throughout Lake County, but to gain their confidence based on my experiences and my knowledge of the job that they're required to perform. So in short, I would say those are my most salient points that I'd like to make in terms of my qualifications, the experience certainly, and the fact that it spans 20 years.
Okay, if you're elected, what would you like to change in the office? Jerome?
I'd like to answer that. Thank you. There's a number of things I'd like to change. I think presently there are areas where better management would serve us better in the functions of the office, and that is the listing of properties and the collection of data. But in addition to that, I feel that there's a real need for a leadership in terms of management. In fact, as we sit here today with an impending assessment, there are no common standards that are set in the office or the offices that exist from the county to the township assessors. And in addition to that, one of the things that we want to and that we're currently working on is for better, I guess you could say, management of the existing offices, but in order to equip them with the more modern and flexible technology that would not only help us to achieve assessment accuracy, but to provide opportunities, if you will, for the county assessor to review the work that's being done. The best example that I could give you there is there isn't a standard for parcels reviewed in the field on a daily basis, nor is there a standard for the amount of appeals that are heard in a week. So without question, I think that there is a real need for someone who has the experience and the leadership and the knowledge to be able to identify specific areas in that office that need to be addressed. One other relevant point that I certainly feel that I could bring, and again from an experience perspective, is the ability to bring some congruency to the offices of Lake County Assessor as well as the 5 existing township assessors. In fact, in Lake County, we're the only county that still maintains 5 township assessors as a result of legislation that was passed a few years ago. And that can actually be a benefit for us if those common standards are driven and facilitated from the county assessor's office. And I believe the relationships that I've developed with the township assessors will allow me to bring those common standards to the office.
Okay, Mike?
Becoming the next assessor would basically one of the first things I would do is make sure the backlog of the appeals that are there get up to date. Look for efficiencies in the appeal process that are currently going on to make sure that not only the taxpayer has it efficient on their end and they understand what's going on, but that the employees have an efficient manner in order to review those appeals and get them taken care of quickly. The collection of data is also something that makes sure that it is accurate, utilizing new technology or up-to-date technology in making sure those particular items are addressed so there's less appeals down the road. I think with the number of appeals that do come in, I think with better oversight of the office and use of technology would try to and would minimize those particular appeals that are currently coming in. And I think that's important. I think the taxpayers want to see government run more efficiently. I would like to see that the assessor's office works well with electronically with both the recorder's office and the auditor's office. All those are related. And if electronically paper can be moved through those three offices, will make things more efficient in government. I think we need to move forward in Lake County with more efficiencies. I think efficiencies do help with number of employees we need. I think there's a way to take the $1 million budget that we currently have in the assessor's office and trim it down through attrition and better educate our employees to review and field work and also internally on making sure these efficiencies are in place. So I have no problem making sure that education and training for the employees are there with standards that are out there today.
Okay. One of the things that the Indiana Commission on Local Government Reform, the Kernan Shepherd Commission, suggested was that this office actually not be elected at all, that you merge all of these finance functions into one office and have like a comptroller or something like that. I'm curious what you think of that possibility.
I think it's a great idea. I think we should move forward with appointing some of our positions. They shouldn't be elected. So I have no problem with the the Kernan Shepherd report looking for efficiencies in county government. We should move towards that. And in fact, most states do appoint their assessors. In many of the classes I've taken in 4 other states than Indiana, me being one of the classmates in there, each of those states appointed their assessors and didn't get them elected. So they were surprised to hear that Lake County or in Indiana elects there. So I'm all for consolidation and moving towards that.
Okay, Jerome?
I think consolidation is absolutely necessary. However, I would caution that it needs to be done in an efficient manner. And what I mean to say there is the functions of assessor are very specific as they relate to our real estate market. And to just appoint a person or someone based on the whims of someone's personal or political preference, I think could be a large disadvantage to us. If that person is appointed to oversee the functions of the assessor's office, I believe that that person should, be completely familiar with the functions of the office that currently exist so that we don't develop the backlog of appeals as Mike suggested. And as it relates to that, I just have to point out is that was a good point, the 6,000 appeals that did exist. But as I understand presently, there's down to about 2,000 of them, and that's as a result of the assessor's office just processing them, which from my perspective is the primary reason why we've gotten to the point we are now. And it was the inability to make a decision coupled with the outdated software. The technology that I mentioned earlier would combine all of those functions and allow us to more efficiently address not only the accuracy of assessments but appeals. So consolidation, yes, but are we prepared for that today? I would say no. And the other point that I would make there, in addition to having a qualified administrator, you certainly have to have a qualified staff. And the last time I checked, there's only 3 or 4 level 3 assessor appraisers in the office, and not very many more level 2, which leads to outsourcing and bringing in other companies to perform the functions that that particular office or office holder was elected to perform. So yeah, efficiencies and consolidation would be great, but only if done in a timely and efficient manner.
So, if there are so few level 3, certified people on staff, would you want to bring that number up, realizing that increases the competition for the office if you should run again?
Without question. In fact, that would be one of my priorities, is to initiate a comprehensive training for the existing employees and determine where the particular skill sets lie. Often we hear about the vendors that are hired by the local assessors and the current county assessor, and I think that situations like that exist largely because of the lack of skill set that exists in some of the offices. Having said that, I believe, just as I believe you can phase in, or that consolidation would one day be able to be facilitated, I believe the training of the employees would be a step-by-step process. First, ascertain the current skill set, and I believe that my past experience, or the confidence that has been instilled in me to be an instructor for the DLGF, I believe I'm up to the task for that as well.
Okay, Mike?
Yes, I would require all of the employees in the office to at least be a level 2, if not level 3. I believe the public wants to make sure that they're dealing with qualified employees when they're dealing with their taxes. So there are classes that are out there. There are funding mechanisms, my understanding, at the county level to send individuals towards these classes. So I would look for additional funding towards that office to make sure all the employees are at least level 2, but hopefully level 3.
Okay. We haven't talked about, go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to touch on a couple of issues that relate to revenue coming into the county, and certain things that hurt the ability to get that revenue in. One is delinquent properties, owners who haven't paid their taxes. The other is properties that may have exemptions that maybe that they don't deserve. Talk about those issues and how your office would address them, Mike.
Well, if there's exemptions that they don't deserve, I think they need to be addressed. There should be a thorough review of all properties that do have exemptions and make sure that they are qualified. Recently heard in a neighboring county that there was some property there that had some exemptions, and they've addressed them. I believe we should address those properties in Lake County that shouldn't have exemptions that are given. And also educate, basically, the public on exemptions that they may not have. There's mortgage exemptions, homestead exemptions, there's veterans exemptions, there are over 65 exemptions, blind or disabled exemptions. Those are exemptions that the public should know, and we should educate them to make sure that they're properly put onto their properties.
Jerome?
Exemptions are actually a function of the auditor's office, and I don't say that to dismiss the importance of it as it relates to the assessor's office. In fact, getting back to modern, more flexible technology, that's one of the functions that the technology that I'm currently investigating can provide, and that's the ability to identify which properties have exemptions and what the exemptions are. So I think that's an extremely important part of the process, but more importantly, I think it's important that the office that's charged with that responsibility be abreast of it, and certainly be proficient in discovering exemptions that are illegally, in this particular case, still maintained by the assessors. And as I understand, the auditor's office contracts with an individual to track faulty or exemptions that aren't qualified for by a particular office holder. So, and there was a second part of your question. If you'd repeat that, I'd like to answer that.
Also about delinquent people who are property owners who are delinquent in their taxes.
Delinquent property owners, Robert. I think that's a question that if I had the answer to it, I certainly would probably run for president or something like that. I think that's a factor of the economy, and certainly a factor in some instances of the values that are placed on properties, which again, and I hate to keep repeating the same thing, but it's important that we have the most up-to-date technology, and this technology would allow us to integrate what's called a multiple regression analysis, and what it simply does is take the variables out of a particular assessment that aren't relative to the value and focus more on the ones that are. The best part of it is that it also integrates the most current sales that are out there, and that is what I mean by bringing all the functions together. That's pretty much about the size of what's happening with delinquencies.
We should probably have time for one more question. Let's ask, the basic one. What's the difference between you and your opponent, Mike?
Well, I believe my experience in the private sector for 30 years is the main difference. Working at the bank, being entrusted by the owners of the bank and bank customers with their money, I think shows trustworthiness in me, and hopefully trustworthiness rolls out to the taxpayer for that role at Lake County Assessor's office. I believe that my experience then in the municipality sector there, actually overseeing the budget there, a $12 million budget in Schererville, also sets me aside from the other candidates regarding this. And that's basically it. I think my private background in there, I think that's what residents want, a new face in Lake County, not the same faces that are out there. So someone new, someone with a professional background, someone that is a proven leader, and got the integrity for the position.
Okay, Jerome?
Thank you. Yeah, and I would have to respectfully disagree with Mike in a couple different areas. We both have had private sector experiences that are pretty significant and relevant, and I certainly commend him on his accomplishments in the banking industry. But without question, the thing that separates me from all of the other candidates in this particular race is that I'm the only candidate who has any experience in property valuation for assessment purposes. I'm the only candidate who has a working relationship with the current 5 township assessors, and in addition to that, I'm the only candidate who has submitted a plan online for the public to view with a very specific, detailed outline of what I intend to do for the office. Having said that, considering the potential impact for inaccurate values and how they can specifically relate to us as residents and business owners, I would conclude that I am the logical choice or the best candidate for this office, simply based on my experiences and present knowledge of the issues that are at hand, and prepared to go in there day one and address them.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Again, this is Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times, with 2 Democratic candidates for Lake County Assessor, Mike Troxell, Jerome Prince, also in the room, Robert Blaskowitz, assistant managing editor. Thank you for viewing.